Goodland, Burlington, Colby, and online at nwksradio.net.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Thousands of years, nothing's been done. President Trump's assessment of the long-running conflict in the Middle East. Nothing's been done, he says, until now, referring to the 20-point peace deal he brokered to end the war in Gaza and bring the hostages home. House Speaker Mike Johnson is throwing cold water on hopes for a quick end to the government shutdown. This is day 14 as the Senate prepares for an eighth vote on a short-term Republican funding bill. It would end the shutdown, allowing time for negotiations on longer-term bills to fund the federal government. Some homes ordered evacuated in wildfire-scarred Los Angeles neighborhoods. An October storm expected to pound the region with heavy rains and high winds, possibly unleashing dangerous mudslides. On Wall Street, the Dow futures down 331. More details, srnnews.com.
Okay, some good news during a challenging time for everybody, and this could really help. You may know hundreds of thousands of people have already made the switch to MediShare, which is the affordable alternative to health insurance. And with so many people looking at how they're paying for healthcare right now, seeing premiums going up and the cost of healthcare, MediShare has a special offer, and a lot of people are taking advantage of it. Just apply by October 31st, and they'll waive your new member fee. You're saving $100 right off the bat. That's just the start. Obviously, the typical family saves up to $500 a month after making the switch. And MediShare is a Christian community that shared more than $9 billion in medical bills over the years. It's worked beautifully for decades. I'll give you the number here in a second. If you call, you can get a price within 2 minutes. Just tell them the promo code SHARE to get your additional savings too. Here it is. Call 844-45-BIBLE. That's 844-45-BIBLE. 844-45-BIBLE.
Convenience just got an upgrade. Farmers State Bank of Oakley is excited to announce the opening of our brand new ATM along Highway 40, right next to Sonic Drive-In. Whether you're grabbing a snack or on the go, you can quickly access your cash without the detour. It's banking made easy, right where you need it. Farmers State Bank of Oakley, member FDIC.
Coming to you with NWKS Radio News, I'm Connor Schuh. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central Time, a local consult meeting will be held in Colby at the City Limits Convention Center to focus on regional transportation priorities. The meeting will last till noon and is open to public as residents of Colby and the surrounding Northwest Kansas area are invited to join the meeting. Attendees will also hear about transportation investments being made in the area, and will get to learn about various grant funding programs available through KDOT. So again, if you are interested, that is tomorrow on Wednesday, 9 a.m. to 12 at the Convention Center in Colby. With NWKS Radio, I'm Connor Schuh.
This morning, we'll see rain showers and fog with total precipitation less than a quarter inch. Winds will be from a south-southeast direction this morning at around 10 miles per hour, increasing this afternoon 10 to 20 with gusts to 25. Skies will remain mostly cloudy. Highs will be in the upper 60s to low 70s. Tonight, it will remain breezy and mostly cloudy with lows in the mid to upper 50s. Tomorrow and Thursday, a lee-side low pressure will develop in Colorado as a deepening trough out west, increasing south winds 20 to 30, gusting 45 to 50 miles per hour, and high temperatures warming in the mid to upper 70s. Morning clouds and light rain showers are possible. In the upper level trough and surface low will move through Thursday afternoon and evening with chances for showers and storms. Lows will be in the lower 50s Wednesday night, drop into the lower 40s Thursday night and Friday morning. And then Friday and over the weekend, it becomes cooler and more seasonal. Highs in the mid 60s to low 70s. This meteorologist Chris Rummick at the NWKS Radio Weather Center.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland and let's get you covered. The insurance agency. Insurance the way it should be.
Need a porta potty or septic pumping in Northwest Kansas? Call Topside Portables and Pumping, your local family-owned crew. They've got clean, reliable toilets for weddings, farms, and job sites, plus full septic services, RV waste, fertilizer tanks, and more. Available 24/7, because when nature calls, they answer. Call 785-728-8089. That's 728-8089. Topside Portables and Pumping. Reliable, local, clean.
This fall, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware has everything you could need. Keep your lawn strong with Ultimate Winterizer, the best defense before the frost. Warm up your evenings and create memories with a new fire pit. Or bring home the flavor with a great selection of grills and smokers from brands like Traeger, Blackstone, Green Egg, and more. And right now, the lumber prices are low, and so are the temperatures, making it the best season to tackle those outdoor projects. It's Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware with locations in Goodland and Colby. Open every day but Sunday.
It's Truck Month at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland. Get behind the wheel of a brand new 2026 Chevrolet Silverado 1500 with 2.9% APR for 72 months. And if GMC's more your style, you're in luck. Drive home a 25 GMC Sierra Elevation with up to $7,000 in customer cash, or lock in 0.9% APR on a 26 GMC Sierra 1500. Whether it's power, performance, or pure style, Hurl Chevrolet GMC has the truck to match your drive. Visit hurlchev.com or stop by today in Goodland and make this Truck Month one to remember.
Are pests making your home or business uncomfortable? Call Pest Away in Goodland, Kansas, serving all of Northwest Kansas. They provide top-notch pest control services to keep your space safe and pest-free. From ants to rodents, termites to spiders, our expert team is here to help with effective, safe, and affordable pest control solutions. Don't wait. Call Pest Away today at 785-728-7166 for fast, reliable service. Your home or business deserves the best protection.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4!
It's time for the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
The amount of money getting thrown around to quarterbacks who haven't done diddly squat is amazing to me.
And Connor Schuh.
He's the new guy.
The High Plains only local sports talk show, broadcasting live on Goodland's Rocket 102.5 and video streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Covering it all from the preps.
He's at the 10, the 5, he dives for the end zone, he's in! Touchdown, Cowboys!
To the pros.
Line drive, left field, base hit! Here comes McMahon, he'll score! Ball game!
The Blitz is presented by Hurl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank. Along with
Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell, the Insurance Agency, Pest Away LLC, Topside Portables and Pumping, and the Farmer State Bank in Oakley.
Let's go to work.
I guess it's going to be one of those days. I guess that's what we're going to be dealing with today, Connor. I don't know why. I've got a weird situation here inside the KKCI studio here. The last couple of this yesterday and today, and I don't know exactly what has happened, but I've got perfectly good internet on one computer, actually on two computers, but on one other computer, it does not want to work. So it has been a complete cluster, you know what?
Yeah, I get you.
So I sit here and I'm perplexed. I honestly am perplexed. I don't know what to do because I don't have a good answer for you, but we'll push through because that's what we do on the Morning Blitz. We push through here on the show, but once again, good Tuesday morning, everybody. Glad you're with us here on the Morning Blitz. It is October the 14th, Happy birthday to my oldest, Nora. She turned 6 today. So happy birthday to my
Happy birthday, Nora.
There you go. So Nora, happy birthday to you, my dear. Last night we went to the Mexican restaurant here in town, and they do the whipped cream in the face type deal. Have you ever had that done? She thought that was the greatest thing ever. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah, it was great. It was wonderful. It just gets face just splashed with whipped cream. So wonderful. But anyway, good Tuesday morning. It's a little wet. I don't know about you over there, but over here, a little damp. Wasn't maybe an extreme. Is it raining there? Is it raining?
It was sprinkling on my way in, so it's still kind of.
I think it was raining earlier this morning, but by the time I was on my way in, it's just a very light mist at this point in time. But definitely, I told my wife, who, by the way, for a while in her life did live in Alaska for a little bit, lived in Alaska for a few years. And anyway, I said, I don't know how people do it. I don't know how people get out of bed when it's still dark in the morning. I cannot do it. It's hard.
Well, that's what we do every morning.
I know it is, but it's hard. See, but in the summertime, it's not as bad. The sun is kind of starting to kind of come up. Here, it's still, and it's only going to get worse. I mean, It's only going to get worse till mid-December, and then it'll start getting the better. But, for the next handful of months, it's only going to get worse. Although when the time change happens, it does help a little bit, which is coming up in November. But at the same time, it's hard. It's hard to get up in the morning. It is a challenge. Very, very difficult. But anyway, coming up on today's program, we're going to be visiting with hopefully we're going to be visiting with, if I can get these computer issues figured out, we're hopefully going to be visiting with Brett Clough. He's the head coach for the Weskin Coyote football team. He'll be joining us coming up on the program to talk about the great season that the Coyotes are currently having. The defending six-man state champs got beat in the season opener, but have rattled off 5 straight wins since. Look forward to visiting with Coach Clough. Great friend of the program coming up, and a devoted listener as well to the Morning Blitz. He'll be joining us coming up here in our second segment. We'll get to what happened last night in Major League Baseball and Monday Night Football. The high school volleyball regular season kind of wraps up. They put a bow on that here tonight. We'll talk a little bit about that. We have some coverage of that tonight as well on our NWKS radio stations. We'll also talk some golf in just a little bit here. And then I have a question. I don't know why. I think I was chewing on this yesterday a little bit about college football coaches and how much blame you can put on them. And so we will get to that in just a little bit. I do want to foremost, Connor brought this up at the end of the show, and I admit I forgot to do it, and it happens a lot on this show. I forget a lot of things. That's why Connor's there. He's the Tony Reale of this show. A little bit more important than that, but
managing things.
Just kind of overseeing the
I'll
operation.
give you a couple points for this one.
Please, why don't you? Please, trust me. But picks. We did not update our picks from the weekend this past weekend. Connor, take it away. How did we do on? Well, I know how I did. How did we do on picks?
Neither of us did particularly well. You said TCU would cover against K-State. I said Kansas State would win.
Wrong.
0-1, 1-0.
Nice work.
Kansas and Texas Tech, we both had KU covering. Did not happen. So 0-2, 1-1. And then Nebraska, Maryland, you had Maryland covering. They did. I had Nebraska winning. Correct. So 3-0 or wait, 2-1, I should say.
1 and 2.
So yes, you're 1 and 2 there. And then we had Iowa State covering on Colorado. That did not happen for either of us. So now you're 1 and 3 here, as I have lost you. But you know what? We're going to keep doing the picks here. Well, we try to get Ross back. So 1 and 3 for Ross after that one, 2 and 2 for me. And then Ross drops another one. He had the Broncos covering against the Jets, and they did not do that. Of course, they only won by 2 points. That game ended 13-11, and I had the Broncos winning, so I got that one. So move up to 3 and 2. And then finally, he had Detroit winning against Kansas City. They did not. And then I had Detroit covering that game, in which they did not do. So just with that, we'll take a look at the official numbers. So Ross went 1 and 5. So now he's 9 and 12 on the season with picks. And I went 3 and 3. So I have myself at 10 and 10, which I don't think is accurate necessarily. I think I should be 10 and 11 because I was down 1 on him before this week. Well, we try to figure out whatever computer issues we have here. But as I was saying, picks have gone average for us so far this season, but we're figuring that out day by day. But for now, we're going to get back to things with talking about Colby and Goodland girls golf briefly. So Colby and Goodland each qualified for state this past day in their past tournament. So congratulations to each of those teams. Of course, Ross and I both very happy about that. The two teams that we have a chance to cover here in the high school sphere, both of them incredibly good. So props to Goodland and Colby girls golf and what they've done this season. It's been pretty incredible, and you got to respect what they have done in the high school golf sphere. So props to them. And then I don't have a whole lot to add on that. I think Ross would have a little bit more, but I think we can talk to him more about that once we get him back on the show here shortly. He did say he's been having some problems with the Wi-Fi, which, of course, you'll have that every now and again, especially with a little bit of weird weather we've been having lately. But I guess I'll answer Ross's question he had for me now that we're getting to this. How much can you blame college football coaches for their firing or whatever problems they've had? Because already this season, counted up, we have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 head coaches fired during the season so far. Of course, the most recent and most noteworthy one being James Franklin this past weekend. And if you're following college football even a little bit, you've probably seen this one coming, especially after the week they had previously against UCLA, losing to them in just heartbreaking fashion. And then this past week, losing to Northwestern in a game where they couldn't really seem to get anything going offensively. But James Franklin gets fired, and the question Ross had is, how much blame do they deserve for maybe the bad their teams are doing? Do they deserve to get fired is the big question. And I think the real answer to this is it really depends on who you're talking about, because you look at a guy like James Franklin, and I think if you look at his team on paper, it's a lot of the same guys on the defensive side of the football as they had last year. They returned their running back tandem, Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, two guys who were so incredible last year and were supposed to really be the guys this season. But unfortunately, it hasn't really come out like that for them. And I think James Franklin can probably take part of the blame, but I think with a team like that, you string a little bit of it on Drew Aller, who has really struggled in what's probably I think it's his final season of college football. He's a senior. He could have, well, we're going to do a little check on that right now. Drew Aller, because initially coming into this season, he was supposed to be a favorite for number 1 pick. Yeah, this is his senior season. So after this, he needs a big bounce back, but he hasn't really been cutting it for Penn State. So this one doesn't entirely fall on James Franklin. And I think that's just the nature of all of these. It's an it depends type of situation. And you can never fully blame a coach for the lack of success their team has. I mean, you look at UAB, Trent Dilfer got fired after going 2-4 just yesterday. And that's a team that isn't really getting too many resources. They just started their football program back up a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And it's tough to win in a situation like that. So you can't put too much blame on Dilfer. And then you get to Mike Gundy, who has done so many great things at Oklahoma State. But this year, for whatever reason, it did not click. It didn't click last year. And it's been a struggle bus for him. And they decided to cut ties with him there, unfortunately. And you can't really say it's entirely his fault, again, because this is a different era for him, and he's not really used to the portal era as we know it. It's just not the type of football he's used to coaching, with players getting paid and just bebopping between teams like it's the NFL. So I think he might have just been fed up with it anyway. And you could tell those guys really bought into him, even though they've really struggled this year. I mean, you look at the numbers as a team, and Oklahoma State 1-5 this year, 1-2 with Gundy before he got fired. But you're just not really gonna. It's not gonna cut it, you know. I mean, last year they weren't too good either, 3-9. But you look as recently as 2023, and they were 10-4. So I think some of these, another layer to this, is coaches just coaching in an era that's not really built for them. And that's what it was with a guy like Mike Gundy. And you look down the list, even Sam Pittman, a guy who's been coaching for 5+ years for Arkansas, he recently got pulled from that job after getting beat down by Notre Dame a couple weeks ago. But I think that's another case of a slightly older coach just not really finding his way in this new era. And sometimes you're going to have to pull the plug. And unfortunately for Arkansas, that means bringing Bobby Petrino back, which I think is absolutely bad news. And I think most people would probably agree on that sentiment. But what are you going to do? And we'll just talk about the other two guys who got fired during the season here real quick. Or the other three, there's actually 7 guys who got fired during the season. You feel like you never really see that in a college football season, but this year it was a little bit different. So Brent Pry of Virginia Tech got fired back in September after they started 0-3, and that makes sense. I think that one was more on Pry. He couldn't really recruit, and Virginia Tech isn't a massive destination, although you could classify them as more of a football school than anything, but still, that's a tough program to really build in the ACC when you're consistently near the bottom, and you haven't really had much consistent success for, a really long time. I mean, you look in their history, and they went bowling the past couple of years, but they hadn't consistently been going to bowls since 2019 and before, where they did actually have a massive run where from 1993 all the way to 2019, they made a bowl every single year. But it seems like in recent times, that's kind of just fallen by the wayside. They made a couple with Brent Pry, but it's not really enough after they were a team with Frank Beamer back in the 2000s where they were winning 10+ games every single year. So that one, you can maybe put that on the coach. You go a little deeper, Deshaun Foster with UCLA. That might have been on him. When you can see how they've played with their interim head coach, Tim Skipper, and then OC Jerry Neuheisel stepping in. They've won 2 of their 3 games since and have looked like a totally different football team. But again, you don't want to put the blame entirely on a coach. But UCLA is a place that is typically more of a recruiting destination. Sure. And Russ, welcome back.
Thanks, Connor. How do you like that? That's live radio for you.
Hey, I just filibustered about college football coaches for a little bit. How was that?
I was filibustering about local sports. So what do you know? If you listen to the Blitz on one channel, you got something completely different than the other.
So here, I touched on Colby and Goodland girls golf, but I run the gamut on the college coaches. So if you want to expand at all on those
I just had a question. I had a question. I'm sorry for our listeners on both channels that don't know what the heck we're doing, but this is what happens on live radio when things don't go right. You don't have a producer, but my question was, I was thinking about this. I was thinking from the Kansas perspective. You know, we're seeing all these coaches get fired here, which I don't know. How about you? I think it's the earliest I've ever seen college football coaches get fired in a season, which I think is actually it's not a good thing personally, but I understand in today's economically driven college sports that this is what you have to do. So I get it. But here's a thought I have on this. How much can you blame college football coaches now? 5 coaches have been fired for the end of the season. How much blame do they deserve, or are there many other factors? Like, I just thought about, for the example, and this example that keeps going in my mind is Kansas's Lance Leipold. I know he's not fired, and I don't believe he's on the hot seat. But I go back to last week. And I look at what happened last week, where they were in that game for a half or so against Texas Tech. And then all of a sudden, it just completely blew up, and they were blown out by, whatever it was. I mean, it was 30-plus points. How much? And then you look at some of these other games where their teams are just getting blown out. How much can you blame the coaches, or how much do you put the blame on some other things? Because I'm actually leaning more on it. Obviously, it depends on the situation. Like, I do believe that at Penn State, it's probably on James Franklin, because his team was loose. He probably had the more talented team,
absolutely,
the better roster, but he, for some reason, could not get his guys to be mentally sharp and focused, or believing that they could beat some of the mid to bottom dwellers of the Big Ten in UCLA and Penn State. But in the case of like Lance Leipold, I don't blame him for that loss. What I do blame is the fact that Texas Tech has got way more money to put into their roster than Kansas does. And I feel like that was shown. And so how would you look at it? That's what I was kind of digging at yesterday when I was thinking about this.
Well, what I said earlier is it depends on the situation. Kind of like you just said there with Franklin, there might be more of a talent gap with his team and then the teams of some of the coaches that recently got fired. And I think you look at some of the teams like a Virginia Tech or a UCLA or even Oklahoma State. Those are teams that have had quite the history, especially in the last 20 or so years, where they've typically been a much better program, and the standard has not been upheld with new coaches or old coaches that have almost grown out of the era, because at some point the transfer portal and now the NIL has kind of thrown a wrench into a lot of the ways this thing works. And a guy like Mike Gundy, for example, with Oklahoma State, might not be up to speed and maybe doesn't really want to conform with that and throw a bunch of money at players. So you can say it's kind of on him, but I think for a lot of these guys, it's almost on the era they're coaching in now and how different things are. That has to mess with guys, especially that are a little bit older and were brought up in the coaching trees of the 1990s and the 2000s, where things were just totally different. I mean, they were still paying guys, but it was under the table and you weren't hearing about it as much.
I can guarantee if they were paying guys under the table, it was nowhere near the same amount of money that was being paid.
I mean, because like everyone's getting paid now. It's not just like the star quarterback. It's like 50 different players.
More than that in some cases.
Probably.
I just think, like, when you go on, if you're an athletic director or an athletic administration and you're like, okay, our football program is not good and we need to make a change, I think you have to really sit down and hammer out, like, okay, what are the reasons for our program not being good? Because it probably used to be, well, it's just the head coach. He's in charge. He hired the assistants. He recruited the players. He's the guy that got every, he's in charge of this. He's the guy. So it all, you cut the head off the snake. That's the way it is. I just don't think you can do that anymore. I think you have to, as an athletic administrator or administration, you got to sit back and say, okay, in today's college football, where everyone is able to pay players legally, and the money is at least $22.8 million that you can give, that you are supposed to give to your athletes. And that's, by the way, across all sports, not just football. But as we've learned, it's usually about, 15 million of that going to football because it's the biggest breadwinner.
Or more.
Right. That's why I say at least. But then also on top of that, you have all your NIL money that you want to throw at other players to make your rosters what are $30 to $40 million rosters, as we have heard said by other coaches talking about Oregon and other Texas, $30 to $40 million rosters. And so I just sit back and I'm like, I just don't know at some point in time if you can always just go and say, well, it's the coach's fault. If the coach doesn't have the budget to build a roster to compete against teams that do have the budget, I just don't think that you can automatically go and say, fire the head coach. It's his fault. I just don't think you can do that anymore. I don't think you can absolutely do that anymore. So I'm with you where I think you have to take a look at everything and say, okay, is our team, are we providing all the resources we can to our football coach, or it doesn't matter, it could be basketball coach. Are we providing all the resources we can to help this guy win? If the answer is yes, then you can go upon the thought of, okay, he's not winning. We need to find somebody else. But if you cannot, in your heart of hearts, say, if you cannot sit there and say that we are putting in the best financial, then you just don't. I think you have to almost look at yourself and say, well, I think if we're going to win, we're going to have to get more money somehow, some way. And in some cases, it's just not going to happen.
Absolutely not. In the case of, let's say, like an Oklahoma State or a UCLA, now they're not quite getting as much funding as some of the other schools around them like you might have thought. I mean, Oklahoma State still has a ton of money coming in, and UCLA, I'm sure, still has a lot of funding, but now they're falling behind other West Coast schools, like, for example, in Oregon, like you're saying. And with Oklahoma State, Oklahoma kind of has that trump card over them in that sense. So sometimes things just don't work out maybe the way you'd like in this new era.
Isn't it also interesting? You think about it when you were, let's just go back a few years ago before true NIL was happening or true paying of players was happening. You needed the money as an athletic university. You needed the money to, pay your coach, head coach, pay your assistants. You needed money to pay the, all the trainers, to make sure that your team was your athletic training department, all that stuff. You needed money for facilities, whether that be stadiums, locker rooms, training facilities, indoor practice, whatever. You needed all that. That money was going to. And it was, and still for a majority of schools, that was still putting a lot of budgets in the red. A lot of budgets in the red.
And now it's even worse.
Now you automatically take $22.8 million that every single year, and it could go up next year, obviously. Then that's going to go to your players. So now you need to have not only the best facilities and stuff for your athletes, for them to be housed in, to help recruit them here, but then you have to have the money to pay them when they are here or get them here. It's just, I just thought about this because have been lots of talks about, James Franklin getting fired and Matt Rule could be possibly be the next head coach at Penn State, which it's a possibility. There's lots of factors that point to it. But at the same time, does Matt Rule want to leave Nebraska where I think everything is in place? He has facilities. I think he would love to have more money for his roster retention and building of rosters. I think every coach would. So that's probably a talking point of his. Like, you want me to stick around? Like, I need more money to build this roster up. And I get that. But then I think about programs like Kansas, where I think Lance Leipold is a phenomenal coach. I think he's great. But I think him and a lot of other coaches are always going to be coaching with kind of one hand behind their back because they're going to run into teams like a Texas Tech that's going to blow their doors off because they just cannot get up to the same level of caliber player because they have more money than they do in their coffers.
Yeah, it's almost not fair, but that's just kind of what it is. And
okay, here's the question. Is it more fair now or less fair than it was? Let's just go back 10 years when we were talking about paying players under the table. What's more fair?
That's a tough question because obviously you probably didn't. I mean, you don't want to say you didn't have most teams paying guys under the table because I'm sure to some degree, if every college coach got truth serum from the year 2010, let's say, and I think most guys in Power 5 and Group of 5 and just D1A coaches would say, yeah, probably gave a little money to some guys to get here. But I think now that it's more public and you can throw more money at guys with reckless abandon, I think it's less fair now because these bigger schools have more of a jumping off point to just toss that money around freely. And it doesn't matter. And conversely, outside of the athletes, I think this is almost a bigger issue for other employees in college athletics like SIDs and even like student assistants and people like that aren't going to get paid nearly as much because all this NIL money is going to players that could go to other spots and facilities might be not as well kept or as nice as they could be because of this money going to athletes.
No, I think it is more. I think it is more unfair now. mean, even let's say even you were paying guys under the table. It's hard to keep $100,000 under the table pretty darn quiet. Whereas now $100,000 to a player or $500,000 or even multiple million is nothing. So it's way more. And now it's open to everybody. So who cares? Here's $1 million. Dylan Raiola. Here's whatever, $1 million. Whoever. It doesn't matter. But back in the day where you couldn't do that. Maybe it was the $50, the $100 handshake, as they always like to say. Here, have $100. Good to meet you.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It's different now. I don't know. I think we have to almost adjust our thinking now when we come to firing football coaches, and any coach. Doesn't matter. You can throw basketball in there. Any coach. I think if it is a major NIL sport, football, men's basketball, anything you want to throw in there, if it's a major NIL sport, you have to sit there and think, okay, is it the coach or is it that we're not committing enough funds to give our coach the best chance to succeed?
Absolutely.
I think we have to think about that because I think we came across, that's what I love about these conversations. We come with another question like, is it more fair now than it was 10 years ago? Probably not. It's actually less fair to other things. And so it's going to make it very, very difficult.
I have one more point. You think about a sport like baseball where not a lot of schools are typically going to throw a lot of money in the pot. But then you have schools like LSU, for example, or even a school like Oregon State, who has a great baseball program. They're going to throw a lot more money at their baseball teams than teams typically would. So that's just going to give them a competitive advantage instantly over, let's say, almost every Big Ten team that's not going to throw those types of resources in there because they're all getting pulled into football and kind of basketball. So it happens even sport by sport based on whatever a school specializes in, not just football.
We'll end it on this. FB Bank text line 785-899-2222. David chimes in and says, the paying of players has ruined college athletics.
Yeah.
It pretty much has, David. I would agree.
Fair point.
All right, we're way past due. We've got to get to a break. We'll come back. We're going to be joined by our good friend Brett Clow, Weskin head football coach, next from the Blitz.
This is Danny Zwaggart with the Schooler Company. Since your crops are the most essential part of the global supply chain, let us help be your strategic marketing partner. Whether it's an extra truck at harvest, marketing your on-farm storage, or asking us about our unique risk management solutions, we have the tools to help you navigate these ever-changing markets. We are partners in helping your operation run as smooth as possible, and our local merchandisers are deeply knowledgeable about supply and demand and the current market movements. So give Schooler a call today at 785-890-3639.
Wishing things are going to get better with your current fuel supplier will do you about as much good as putting on your glasses so you can hear better. Well, I hope you have your glasses on so you can hear this. Mittens of Oakley. Yep, Mittens of Oakley is the place for on-site delivery of bulk gas, diesel, avgas, jet fuel, DEF, and all types of lubricants. You also need to remember Lucas Running Ruggles on account of he's the guy to call at Mittens for great service when it comes to delivery at a great value. Number 785-672-3062 or go online at mitteninc.com. That's for Mittens of Oakley.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning, Jared Ball with the Andersons in Overland Park, Kansas. Your morning market update. It's Tuesday, October 14th. Feast corn down 1.409 3/4. March down to 1 1/4 at 426. May down to 1.5 at 435. Diesel 26 down 1 at 451. Soybeans on the November down 4.5, 10.03 1/4. Jan down 4.5, 10.20 3/4. March down 4 1/4 at 10.35 3/4. KC wheat on the December down 2 3/4 at 478.5. March down 2.5 at $5 even. May down 3.5, 513.5. July down 3.5 at 528. Chicago wheat on the December down 3.5 at 493 1/4. Feeder cattle yesterday finished at 375.50. Live cattle 240.57.5. Lean hogs 97.42.5. Crude oil futures off $1.47 a barrel at 58.02. Gold futures off $10 an ounce, 4,098.60. Silver off 89 cents at 49.24. U.S. dollar index up 44 points at 91.17.5. Dow futures down 350 at 45,951. S&P futures down 65 at 6,629 3/4. If you need to move any cash greater or want to talk about risk management, you can reach out to myself, Jared Ball, Tom Slew, or Tyler Goshen, 913-748-3000. you're out in Colorado, you can reach out to John Hinkey or John Stiles at 970-744-4484.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
HaydenOutdoors.com to learn more. That's HaydenOutdoors.com.
All the sports you love, all in one place.
This will come in handy.
This is the Morning Blitz.
All right, about 20 minutes left to go in the program today. Thanks again for your patience. I appreciate it. It has been a rocky start to this rocky show so far, but we have pushed through. That's just what happens. It wouldn't be the first time, and it won't be the last that we'll have these things that happen. But we'll get to some MLB and NFL postseason thoughts. I know Connor was deep in Recliner City last night watching that, so he'll give us his report. I was a little busy celebrating a birthday, so he'll have to take care of us for us on that. But we'll get to that coming up in our third segment. We're going to talk some high school football, though. Our good friend and avid listener of the Morning Blitz, Brett Cloud, joins us now on the Hoover Lumber-Ace Hardware Hotline. Good morning, Coach. How we doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We are doing well, man. Appreciate it. I want to. Sorry, go ahead.
I tuned in to hear the first part. I've seen a video before of building an airplane while you're flying it. That's probably a good metaphor for you guys. And just you're a jack of all trades. Kudos to you guys for troubleshooting while talking on live air.
You know, we're just trying to be like you in a football game, make the adjustments on the fly, right?
I think I got it easier than you guys.
Yeah, you can call a timeout. We couldn't do that right there.
That's correct. Yeah, we have timeouts in our back pocket.
That's right. Brett Cloud, the guest here on the Hoover Lumber-Ace Hardware Hotline. Coach, I mean, going into the season, there were so many high expectations. You know, coming off a state championship, I know you lost some seniors, but you returned a lot of good pieces as well. And to come out and drop the first game, a 58-38 loss to Otis, Colorado, what did that do to kind of start the season off? What did that kind of do to the feelings around the program?
Well, it's hard to say that you're happy that it happened, but I'm kind of happy that it happened. And not that you want to go lose, but I think that's the term we wanted to that we use kind of going into it. Just as a coach, especially early in the season, you kind of want to be exposed for your weaknesses, and that game really did that, and it brought to light a lot of things that we needed to go back to work on. And that was a game that we took knowing that losing was a possibility. That was a fun game to prepare for. We didn't go perform our best. That's okay. It was week one. Not a lot of ramifications in that game other than just learning and getting better, and I think it kind of catapulted us to really go back to work, figure out what we wanted to do from there, and it's paid off for us in a good way.
I was curious, is week one the perfect time for that in a coach's mind, or would you like to have kind of that first game, go out there and get a big win, like in the college, the old bye game days against Roast Beef State, something like that, and then come and play a challenging opponent and kind of get exposed? Or is it better to just have it all done in week one and we push forward the rest of the season?
I think if I had my preference, yeah, I think there is something to kind of getting some confidence and getting your feet wet in a game that you can kind of go control, and then having some big games come up within the next few weeks. but that's okay. I mean, I think it really challenged me as a coach of kind of trying to go prepare for game one. I personally haven't done a great job of that in the past. And then maybe the result even this year, maybe we didn't do a great job this year either, but it was what it was. And yeah, I think we just have to learn from it and get better each time we have those situations.
And Coach, when you have a game like that in week number 1, obviously you don't want that, but does it kind of light a fire under you for the rest of the season?
Yeah, absolutely. I think our boys, some of these juniors and seniors, they hadn't lost a game since week 2 of 2023. And so they were upset. There were some hard feelings in the huddle, and there were some hard things we had to work through. But I think by Monday we had gotten over it. We were kind of looking ahead. And, I think it really was a good thing for us in the end.
Brett Cloud was our guest, Wescan head football coach here on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline. You gave up 58 points in the season opener to a really good Otis team. You followed that up by giving up just 6 total points over the next 4 weeks. And as we all know, in 6- and 8-man football, pitching shutouts or keeping it low scoring can be a challenge. What has made this defense so salty here in 2025?
Yeah, I think, coming out of week 1, like we've said, we really wanted to lean into the mistakes that we made and also just kind of the effort that we played with. Not that we weren't playing hard. We actually played really hard that game, but I felt like we were sitting on our heels. We were kind of letting Otis dictate the game. And really, we've talked about this before, 6-man football, you're putting your linebackers in a lot of spots where they can hesitate. Because they are safeties sitting at 4 or 5 yards off the ball. And so if they're hesitating and then you get a team that really wants to come right at you, that can be a difficult spot to get put in. What I've been proud of from that point is that our guys are becoming more confident. When they see it, they go. And I think I told the team yesterday, what I really like seeing is their effort and rally to the football. We've got 5-6 guys just sprinting to the ball every time. It just is a good tempo and it's a good aggressiveness, and we want to dictate the tempo of play, not be put on our heels and let the offense dictate it.
We know you have a great upper class group, probably led by your seniors and of course your fantastic athlete Carson Wright, the junior, who has over 10 combined total, over double-digit touchdowns at this point in time in the season. How much has Carson improved from last year to this year, taking on a bigger role?
Oh, he's a totally different player, and we expected that. We hoped for that, but just to see it come to life as these games have gone, he's running motivated. He's touched the ball, I think, 44 times on offense and scored 20 times. And so we kind of laughed that what's keeping his yards per carry down is the goal line. But he's been really, really motivated. And that's a huge credit to the guys blocking for him, our offensive line. 3 juniors, Aiden Aldridge, Daughtry Allen, Eli Aldridge are playing really well right now. The guys blocking for him in front of him, Austin Smith. And we have a freshman that has been playing very well, Eli Goodwin. And then our quarterback, Nick Cottrell, is involved in that too. And so just a team effort in the whole process. But, really excited for kind of the player that Carson's become and just the guys around him doing their jobs.
You were talking about, these convincing wins that you've had ever since the loss. And you also talk about the freshmen. It gives a great opportunity to get these young guys in and continue the development of your program for the younger guys. I have a feeling they've done a good job, and you've got to love the cultivating of young talent so far this season.
Well, yeah, in 6-man, it's tough to get JV games, just everybody in the lack of numbers and the fear of getting people hurt. And so it has allowed us there in the second quarters of games. And while you do want to get your varsity guys as many reps as possible, we are starting to see the fruits of some of these young guys playing. We have an exchange kid that's starting to get some reps and really starting to flash and improve each time he plays. And so I think as you can build depth, that only helps you as you go through the season and into the postseason.
Brett Cloud continue to be our guest, Weston head football coach. I want to know something more about the schedule. You know, you like we talked about the loss early on in a tough, hard-fought game, but then you've won these last 5 games pretty convincingly. And my guess is, looking at the schedule, have a couple more convincing wins coming up down the road. We'll see. But, I mean, getting your team ready for postseason play and facing some teams that maybe aren't as challenging as maybe you'd like, how do you go about getting them prepared for that through practice and stuff?
We really just kind of focus on like what's right in front of us. And I think as the schedule played out, we did have some teams there week 2, 3, 4 that there was obviously an advantage there. We really feel like the Shiloh Golden Plains games, those are teams that are challenging in their own ways. They have good athletes, and for whatever reason, they struggled those games. But I think our play dictated a lot of that. We've played really well. We've played clean. We've been aggressive. And so the last 2 weeks, I've been super encouraged by how I did not expect those scores to come out of those games. We were kind of ready for third quarter, fourth quarter, kind of getting deep into the games, and our team has really performed well. I expect the same type of game as far as a challenge with Northern Valley. We really, 6-man is so weird in that scores can be very deceiving, and so Northern Valley presents a lot of problems and they're getting better as they go. They've adapted their offense, and so we expect to be in a good competitive football game this Friday. But I think what we talk a lot about day-to-day and week-to-week basis is our habits. How are we practicing? Are we, things that can work against a lower quality team? Maybe you are just able to block by pushing the guy and then watching Carson run. Well, that's not good enough when you get into some of those late games. And so are we running crisp routes? Are we rallying to the football? Those are the elements that we're really evaluating when we watch film. And do we have good habits, no matter who we're playing? Do we have good habits right now and week to week, so that when you get into a tight game, that's what you fall back on? It's not, we're just not going to jump up and play our best game, not having done it before. And so that's what's been encouraging. I think we have done that, and it's been good to see from our guys.
Brett Cloud, Weston head football coach here, joining us on the Morning Blitz. I had one more question for you, but unfortunately it slipped my mind here a little bit. I forgot what I was going to ask you about, but I had something that was on the tip of my tongue about, I don't know. I think we'll just have to wrap it up right there, I guess. Sorry. I had another question, but I lost my train of thought. Sorry, buddy. Appreciate it. But we appreciate you spending some time with us. Best luck to you and the guys as you continue your season ahead.
Thank you so much. Good luck to you guys, and I appreciate being on with you.
Once again, great stuff there. That is Weston head football coach Brett Cloud, longtime head coach there it's a long time, been there a while though for Weston, and has done a great job for that program. Once again, the defending state champs, and look to be well on their way to competing for another one with the season that they are currently having. Currently 5-1, winners of 5 in a row. All right, let's get to a break. We'll come back. We'll have the Connor Schuh hour. The Connor Schuh 5 minutes, where he will tell us about Major League Baseball postseason, what he witnessed yesterday. We'll dive a little bit of Monday Night Football as well, and recap a few things, and then get you set for what's on tap for sports today. That's all coming up in the final segment next here on the Morning Blitz.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your
Banking should fit your life, not the other way around. This is Jessica Von Lintel at F&B Bank. Banking made simple.
In a small town, your banker should know more than just your account number. They should know your name. At F&B Bank, we believe in real conversations, friendly faces, and decisions made right here at home. I'm Paige Sneathen, Vice President at F&B Bank, and we're proud to serve your family like our own. Member FDIC.
At Next Tech Wireless, get the iPhone 17 on us.
iPhone 17 comes in 4 gorgeous colors with a brighter 6.3-inch display and a ceramic 2 shield front that's 3 times more scratch resistant. Capture super high-resolution shots by default with the advanced 48MP dual fusion camera system and have flexible ways to frame your shot with dual capture video for simultaneous front and rear recording. Next Tech Wireless, connecting Kansas.
Drips, clanks, chills, or swelters? Call the team that's been fixing it all since before your grandpa had a thermostat. McClure's Plumbing and Heating in downtown Goodland has been keeping things flowing and blowing for 95 years and counting. From pesky leaks to full-blown HVAC heroics, they're your hometown pros with nearly a century of know-how. Call McClure's Plumbing and Heating at 890-2208. That's 890-2208. And make your home comfy again, the old school way. Done right.
It's Truck Month at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland. Get behind the wheel of a brand new 2026 Chevrolet Silverado 1500 with 2.9% APR for 72 months. And if GMC's more your style, you're in luck. Drive home a 25 GMC Sierra Elevation with up to $7,000 in customer cash, or lock in 0.9% APR on a 26 GMC Sierra 1500. Whether it's power, performance, or pure style, Hurl Chevrolet GMC has the truck to match your drive. Visit hurlchev.com or stop by today in Goodland and make this Truck Month one to remember.
Are you looking for a job or ready to make a career change? At Connecting Resources, we connect hardworking people with real opportunities in the tri-state area and beyond. Whether you're a farmhand or ranch hand, a skilled equipment operator, a trusted mechanic, or an experienced office professional, there's a great opportunity for you, and we'll help you find it. These aren't just jobs, they're careers that fit your skills, your values, and your way of life. Let Connecting Resources help you find a career that brings you purpose and joy. Start your journey today at connectingresourcesinc.com.
It's the Morning Blitz.
We're having a great time, couple of laughs, everything's nice.
Weekday mornings from 7 to 8 Mountain, 8 to 9 Central.
Well, it's been a rocky flight, but we're about to land the plane here. Can you imagine the flight of this if this radio show took on the appearance of a flight? Yikes.
We'd be in
Grab the vomit bag. Grab the vomit bag. Oh, man. Last night was a busy night with Monday Night Football and MLB postseason. Connor, what were you watching? What caught your eye last night from the Schuh recliner?
I managed to get a look at pretty much everything.
Good for you. Thankfully. Way to go.
So started out with a little bit of Mariners, Blue Jays, but that one was quickly not much of a game.
That was interesting. I was watching bits and pieces. I mean, think about it. They got out 3-0, just bang, did the Mariners. Yeah. And then here came the Blue Jays. They're right back in it. And then after that, it was all M's the rest of the way.
Yeah, 3 more runs in the 5th, 3 more in the 7th, and they just kind of dominated. 3 home runs. J-Rod, Julio Rodriguez, Jorge Polanco, Josh Naylor, all of them homering for your Seattle Mariners and just kind of put the Blue Jays in the ground, surprisingly. And the Jays trotted out their rookie starter, Trey Savage, who has nasty stuff and had a really good postseason start against the Yankees. But I don't know how much more they're going to really get out of him for the rest of this postseason if they make it farther. So the Mariners just kind of teed off on him, and that was the ball game. Logan Gilbert gave him a good enough 3 innings, and their bullpen really, really locked it down. I mean, some names that you're just not going to know. Edward Bizardo, Carlos Vargas, Emerson Hancock. Tell me if you've heard of those guys before.
I have not heard of those guys. If the Mariners need 1 more to get it done, or they need 2 more? Is it best of 7?
It's best of 7, so they're going to need a couple more. But those guys, 6 combined scoreless innings, and they just got the job done. But the much more interesting game was Brewers and Dodgers. That one was just, it was an incredible pitching performance by Blake Snell. He went 8 shutout, and if I'm not mistaken, he only allowed 1 hit. He did.
That is correct.
No walks either. 10 strikeouts. He was just amazing. And if you remember back in 2020, the infamous game where the Rays pulled him after he was having an incredible start and they went on to eventually lose the World Series, he's kind of getting his revenge almost and having a great start in the postseason, something he wasn't allowed to do.
He's been worth every penny that they put on him. He's been worth every penny because this is his 2nd straight performance where I think he's gone 8 innings and pretty much allowed just a couple hits. So he's been dominant.
And even though he wasn't able to pitch for most of the regular season, he's been a postseason dog for them. And the Brewers almost came back and got it. I don't know if you saw that 9th inning, but
loaded the bags.
Yes. There was Isaac Collins walked, Jake Bowers hits a double over the head of the center fielder, and it's a ground rule double, so it doesn't score the run. And eventually he comes around off a sac fly, and then they load him up, and they get their cleanup hitter up, Bryce Terang, who's been having a great postseason. It's like a 2-2 count, and the pitch before almost hit him, but he like hopped out of the way, and everyone's saying like, oh my God, he should have just worn it. It would have scored a run. But
so hard
nope,
to do.
instincts took over, and then he gets a heater that's at his head.
Yeah, it's a bill of the hat. Yeah, just way high.
Just waved at it, and he's not a guy who strikes out that much. So
you could tell he was chewing himself out in the box because he didn't take that one.
I kind of felt bad for him, but you can't swing at that.
No.
But yeah,
that was rough. How about the 8-6-2 double play?
That was insane. I was kind of going between that and the 2 football games, and I tuned back in right when that happened. I couldn't believe it, but that's just the Brewers are incredibly fundamental on the defensive side of the ball. So if any team's going to make a play like that, it's going to be them.
Last night in the NFL, Bijan Robinson ran for 170, including 81-yard touchdown as the Falcons beat the Bills 24-14. Bills have dropped back-to-back games. Nick Athan called that, by the way. He did say the Bills would lose. And then Jake Moody, former Michigan great, fan of Connor Schuh's, 38-yard game-winning field goal as time expired to lift the Bears 25-24 in what was a wet and slippery Washington last night for the Bears. But they get revenge on the same field they gave up the walk-off Hail Mary last year. They get the win this time. And Bears start out 0-2. They've rattled off 3 consecutive wins. Has Chicago. All right, on to the walk-off.
High drive, deep left, grand slam, and back lifts his ball high and deep to right. How about a walk-off Brady? Thomas to the 10, Denver's going on to New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes swings it. It's there. Hardman, jackpot, Kansas City.
Couple quick news and notes here. K-State's Des Purnell named Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week. He should have been. He had 2 interceptions, including a pick 6, a sack. He had himself quite a day there. And Kansas men's basketball ranked number 19th in the AP preseason poll. That makes it now 34 straight years that Kansas basketball has been in the rankings. That is what you call a blue blood.
Yes.
There is volleyball tonight, mentioned earlier. You've got Colby Triangular, Hoxie, St. Francis has a quad, Golden Plains hosting a quad, Goodland has a quad. Pretty much the last regular season matches for high school volleyball are tonight before postseason play begins coming up on Monday. And speaking of Monday, once again, that is where they will have the 3 through 1A state golf tournament at Salina Municipal Golf Course, which where once again Goodland and Colby will be competing after making it to the state tournament. Anything else we missed on the show today?
Ohio State was 27 in the Ken Palm.
For basketball?
Yeah. I'm joking around.
They got any good players this year?
Yes, we do. We brought back all of our best players we have one of the best point guards in the Big Ten, Bruce Thornton. Do not sleep on him. If you're watching Ohio State basketball, watch out for number 2.
I'd love to ask you more about your coach and how much you love your coach. We just don't have time for it. We got to get out of here, but maybe we'll save that for another basketball talking segment. But that does it for our program again today. Once again, happy birthday to my daughter, Nora, and everyone have yourself a great Tuesday. We're back again tomorrow, right here to discuss it all on the Morning Blitz. Don't forget tonight, Goodland volleyball right here on Rocket 102.5. Have a great Tuesday. See you here in the Blitz.